Hello folks, hope you're all having a wonderful day. It is time for some more hobby nightmares. You've had a lot of hobby nightmares this week, haven't you? You lucky people. Before we dive in, I am catching up on my mailbag right now, so if you want to send in any hobby nightmares, now is the time to get them in. If you want them read in March or April, now is the time to get them in and send them to hobbynightmares@gmail.com. That is hobbynightmares@gmail.com. It is down below, down in the description. I keep getting asked the same question. Use your eyes, people. If you want to know where to send me a hobby nightmare, it's in the description. It's down below. So go down there and have some fun, and I'll read out your hobby nightmare if it's good or if it's written well. We'll see. Anyway, Xander says, "Hey North, I have a hobby nightmare which has made my blood boil. I wish I was exaggerating, but it has to be the worst one I've ever had." Okay. To set the scene, over the last year, I have been getting back into 40k, only recently joining a club outside of my university. Due to my hiatus from the hobby, I decided to stick to 1000 points lists for the time being. There's nothing wrong with that, mate. I think 1000 points is a great way to play the game. Especially 10th edition, my god. Last week, I decided to run one of my newest armies, World Eaters, being excited to try out my new army and in a new setting. Okay, cool. Turns out, it was the start of a small tournament that the store was holding when I first started coming in. So I thought, why not? And applied to be in it with my World Eaters. This story takes place during the first match of this tournament, being against a guy called Russell. I went over to our table and greeted him with my hand outstretched, but I got no greeting, not even a subtle hello. Just straight into asking me what I was playing, and of course, I tell him, and his eyes light up, stating how his army is the perfect counter to mine, focusing on anti-infantry, and he was playing Sisters of Battle. Okay. Yeah, I understand that you don't want to pull up this dude, man, but I really would. If I was you, I would. You know, that's not nice manners. He then goes on more, telling me his combos, whilst pointing out at both of our models, until I finally ask him, would you like to know what's on my list? And as soon as that left my mouth, he told me to be quiet and wait a minute as he rambled on about his units, before asking me to roll to see who goes first and deployment. Okay. But one thing really caught my eye. He said he didn't bring a codex, and his phone is almost dead, which made me slightly suspicious, but I ignored it. I wish I hadn't. Yeah, call over the tournament organizer and tell him you're not playing with somebody who doesn't have their rules in front of them. That's it. That's it. Say he should concede, he doesn't have his rules. What if I need to see something? What if I need to double check something? What's going on? He should concede, he doesn't have his rules with him. Oh, I've got my phone. How much charge does your phone have left? 10%. And you think it's going to last for 3 hours of you checking your rules constantly? No. You haven't prepared. You should go get your phone charged, or go and buy a codex, or go home quickly and bring your codex back for your next round. But I'm not playing you. Right? Zero tolerance, mate. This is coming up more and more often now in wargaming. And people just not using the codexes, not using the rule books, not using their iPads, their phones, the tablets, the laptops, whatever you need to use. Okay? I'm not a fan of somebody being on their phone the entire time. It irritates me. I'd much rather you had a codex, because it's just nicer to have there. Now, of course, Games Workshop are taking the piss with their codex, and basically any codex you buy is worthless because they're going to change the rules anyway in a few weeks' time because they can't write rules properly. And I told you that was going to happen last year, and no one fucking listened to me, but here we are. But still, I would much prefer you just print out the QAs, or you print out all of the new rules and you put them in your codex. Do you know what I mean? On the relevant pages. I've got a mate who does that. It takes him 5 minutes. He prints out all the new rules for his army, his Eldar, right? He slides them into his codex, where they're supposed to be, and so he can say to his opponent, there it is, all the time. And it's not a problem. There is no excuse for not having your rules with you at a tournament. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be there. Okay. Luckily, I managed to get the first turn, advancing my units away from his view by using cover as much as possible. Apart from one, Lord Invocatus, and 3 8-bound. Somehow moving them up to his side of the board, bordering his deployment zone. When I was about to charge, shit started going downhill really slowly. And people normally say quickly there. Okay, slowly it is. He asked to see my rules on how I did that, saying it was unfair that I could move that far in one turn, so I walked him through each step, watching him starting to get irritated that it wasn't against any rules, until I managed to get the charge off, ending up getting into melee range with one of his mortifiers. This is what I don't get, right? I know, guys, I'm going to stop interrupting in a minute. I'm sorry. But this fucking infuriates me. So, what you're saying, my friend, is my World Eaters are good at charging and killing people and close combat. So what you're saying is you're irritated that my army is doing what it's supposed to do. Right? So you'd rather I stand here and just get shot. That's what you'd rather happen. People did it with fucking Grey Knights all the time, dude. Oh, why are you zipping around all the place? Oh, I'm sorry. So I should stop doing what my army's good at, right? And start playing the way you want me to play. Is that it? Fuck off. Alright? Get in the sea. This is where he started calling over a member of staff, that poor employee, stating that since my unit was only a quarter of an inch away from his model due to my placement on the board, that I couldn't make it. The employee took one look at the roll and looked at the board, double-checking, and gave me the all clear. I then used my paired chin glaives. Chain glaives? You put chin. Chin glaives. It's just brilliant. I then used my paired chain glaives on his mortifier and tell him all the details. Things were fine with him nodding along until I said 14 strength. Russell then looked up at me, slamming his hand on the table and demanding that I show him that right there and then. After I did show him my codex, he then yelled how stupid it was, how World Eaters needed a nerf, before I then took out his model. Dude, World Eaters are good at close combat. What the fuck do you want from this guy? Now this is where it gets interesting. He then rolled a 6 on the deadly demise, saying, due to his units being slightly behind cover, that he wouldn't be hit by it, looking smugly at me as I disagreed, till I had to call over the same employee, one of the many times we had to, and asked him to check the rules. When the employee stated that I was correct, he then took off one of his models instead of 2, adamant that he shouldn't lose 2 models, due to it not carrying over damage to different squads. Again, the employee corrected him by saying the second squad was in range as well, and I could see his frustration in his face as he slowly took off the model, being sloppy with his movements, knocking a piece of terrain slightly before removing the model fully. This ended up making his troop go from sticking out slightly, so almost fully hidden, to almost fully hidden. Okay. Luckily, the employee and I clocked this, and the employee moved the terrain back whilst giving him a "don't try it please" look. After a few moments, the employee walked away to help another table, and things went relatively fine for the rest of my turn, ending up with taking out a few models and getting overwatched, using his only command point. With his shooting phase, each time I tried to ask him for his strength/AP, he kept interrupting me as he went on about his attacks for that model, telling me an overwhelming amount of information and acting annoyed when I asked him to go through it one by one, ending up with him taking out half my berserkers, which he let out a little battle cry for, yelling, "For the Emperor," his arms raised up. But one thing that did grind my gears was whenever I rolled, he would quickly move my dice into piles of passes, and fail, even trying to play off that a few saves were in fact fails due to our difference in toughness and strength, till I had to pull out the rules for it, correcting him again. Yeah, don't touch another man's dice. That's weird. That's just weird. Like you roll, and you're looking at your own successes and failures, and he starts picking them out for you? Go away. Go to your end of the table. You fucking irritant. Go away. After shooting my units, he went to charge with another mortar fire into my 8-bound, who took his other one out, stating that he had 16 attacks. I, of course, asked him to repeat, to see if I misheard, but no, I hadn't. He repeated himself, saying his regular buzz blades were able to be used twice, since his model has 2 of them, and he could use the twin version as well, of course. I correct him, because it would be overpowered if he got away with it, but he stuck to his idea, saying he couldn't check due to him not having his codex and his phone was on charge. So I ended up pulling up the melee weapons on the 40k app, showing him and correcting him again. I did offer to call over the employee again, but he then corrected himself and rolled 8. Well, you're doing the right thing, man. You're just remaining calm and calling him on his bullshit. This is all you can do at this point, if you don't want to throw the game. With my saves again, he then reached into the dice tray and sorted my dice for me. He did this so fast, I didn't see any roll. Oh, fucking hell. But it ended up with me losing 2 8-bound to his 1 attack, which I couldn't disprove. This was the only charge, thank God, during his turn. Here is where things get good. Dude, you're enabling this guy by letting him do shenanigans like they're doing your dice for you. Fuck off with that shit. He then stated, due to my 8-bound and his mortifier being in combat, that he could attack first, even before it was my movement phase, leading me to having to call over the employee once again. Now at this point, I could see the employee was getting slightly frustrated with this guy, telling him, in fact, no, he couldn't do that, leading him to fold his arms and try to argue with the employee till again, the rulebook came out, disproving his point yet again. When finally it came to the fight phase, of course, I charged into his mortifier and attempted to take it out, but he uses his miracle dice to roll a 6. Over this entire game, I'd never seen him roll a single 1, so I asked him about it, where he said, "Oh yeah, I did roll 1 earlier, the employee saw." Even though his behaviour was shit, and he didn't explain it to me, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Unfortunately, his mortifier lived and took out my 8-bound, letting me then use the Lord Invocatus to try to kill it, and yet again, he used another 6 in his miracle dice, and I knew he hadn't used this one from turn 1. But again, never saw him roll, same excuse, which I couldn't disprove, eventually leading me to not even scratching his model's wounds. Ending turn with nothing on his side being killed, unfortunately now, this is where things get even more strange. On his turn, I'm going to be honest with you, dude, if he blatantly cheats or bees a dick to you one more time without you doing anything, I might stop reading. I'm getting passively annoyed about what's going on. On his turn, after advancing, he then attacked Khan with a precision attack, killing him. A massive blow to my list, but I couldn't do anything, since again, he took my dice and organised it into piles faster than I could tell what was what. Why are you letting him do this? This is the 3rd time he's done it. What are you doing? Don't let another person organise your rolls for you once you've rolled them. He's not your fucking parent. Do it yourself. It's the simplest thing to say. Listen, mate, do you mind if I sort my rolls? Because it's my turn. Right? Not only that, I then get to see what I've rolled. So I get the experience of success or failure without you fucking telling me. Because I don't know you, dude. You could be cheating. Right? It's the simplest thing to say. You deserve this, mate. You deserve this. This hobby nightmare is deserved. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry this happened to you. But it's deserved. You had multiple opportunities to tell this guy to fucking swivel. I'll do my own rolls. Thank you. Or do you want to just for me to remove my army and you can play with your dice on your own for a bit? Dude. I couldn't do anything. You really annoying me. You're saying I couldn't do anything. You could have done everything. Fuck's sake. At this point, I'd had enough, but it got worse. Then you didn't have enough, did you? You're a doormat. You didn't have enough. If it got worse after this, then you clearly didn't have enough. You're a glutton for punishment. He then yelled that he had gained victory points, which was confusing since his 2 missions were engaged on all fronts and area denial, but neither of those would have worked in this situation. So of course I ask about it, and he says he discarded area denial last turn and drew bring it down, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Which he never informed me about. Discarded or drew, but he did show me the card. So again, I couldn't stop him. At this point though, I had had enough. Seeing him get away with all these technicalities that I couldn't stop him with. So, after he shot the rest of my army, continuing to touch my dice and use miracle dice on all of his 6s, my army was shredded, leaving me with only Lord Invocatus, 1 Berserker, and some Jackals, with his army almost being fully alive, so I had to concede. I wish I could say I fought him until I had nothing left or won, but all I had on my side was 3 to 4 objectives. Due to the Lord Invocatus, my remaining Berserker and my Jackals. Points-wise, I was in the lead, but I'd had enough. I ended up giving up and reaching across to shake his hand, just for Russell to yell, "I beat the World Eaters! Turn 2!" which was very embarrassing for me, so I ended up just packing my models up and leaving. I wish I did stay for the next games, but I was exhausted. I ended up going home and just falling asleep. Okay, listen, Xander, mate, alright? I fully, sympathise with you and your situation here. I fully do. But you fucking deserved this. Okay? This was beyond the pale behaviour that even somebody who's not a seasoned Warhammer veteran would call up and say, "Mate, we've called over the TO so many times, and you've been wrong every time." You know? Like what? Just make a point of it. Do you know what you should do? If you're not going to get him to play fair, right? Just concede. Just say, "Mate, we've called the tournament organiser over here that many times, and you've been wrong every time, so I can no longer trust that you're playing the rules in either the spirit of the game or the way they're written in the codex. So I'm conceding, I'm picking my models up, and I'm going to go have fun elsewhere, because I'm not having fun with you," right? At least then you avoid the, "I beat the world eaters." You avoid all that, right? You embarrass him. Say, "Look, I'm picking up my models, mate. No, I'm sorry," right? Okay? And at the very least, don't let somebody else do your roles for you. What are you doing? That's why all of this other stuff, I had a complete sympathy for you, because you might be new, right? But rolling your dice and then letting your opponent sort your success and failures before you can even see them, and carrying on and letting him do it again and again and again, you deserved this hobby nightmare. I hope you learned some lessons. You know, I very rarely say that you deserve it. But fuck me, dude. Get a backbone. Quickly. Alright? I know this sounds harsh. But Xander, mate, I'm on your side. I'm completely on your side. But this is unacceptable. Okay? All the other things he was doing, bog standard Hobby Nightmare fare, right? Bog standard Hobby Nightmare stuff. He's cheating with his own dice. Fair enough. It's wrong, and I'm on your side, Xander. You shouldn't have to put up with it. Maybe you should have walked away earlier, but you know what? You might be new to the hobby, so who knows, right? Whatever. But if you roll your dice into a tray and your opponent barges you out the way and starts telling you what's hit and what hasn't, and you don't call him on it straight away, dude, if you get cheated on by that player in the game, you deserve to be cheated on. You deserve that. Because it's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to do. To let somebody else sort your roles for you. That is a first on Hobby Nightmares. Mate, never allow that ever again. Ever again. If you do, my alarm will go off. I've got one in my bedroom. It will go off. I'll know where you are. I'll come down to your hobby store with the biggest fish I've got from the sea, and I'll slap you in the face with it, and I'll take your models away. Alright? And put the fish in the model case and throw it all in the fucking sea. Don't do that again. I'm really irritated. Don't do that again. Alright? Completely on your side, Xander, mate. Completely. But fuck me, do you need some tough love. Never let that happen again. Never play somebody who doesn't have their rules ready there for you, right? Never do that. Never play somebody without their rules to hand, right? And if as soon as you're getting the tournament organizer coming over and telling them that they're wrong time and time and time again, or even if you check his rules and you know he's wrong time and time again, stop the game and say, listen, either we play this properly or I just concede and I go and have fun somewhere else, right? Because I can't play you. And the minute you roll your dice and he barges you out the way and tries to count your dice for you, tell him to fuck off, get over to his side of the table so you can actually adjudicate your own rolls. Thank you. Okay? Dude, I don't think I've ever been so passively annoyed at a hobby nightmare before. Fuck me. I hope it gets better, Xander, and I hope you've learnt your lesson. Jesus Christ. Alright. Grey Knight Texan says, howdy North, and to the live chat if I missed the video. Hope all is well with you and your family, brother. As always, take a sip of tea if you need it. Just a quick follow-up today. I just wanted to say thanks for you taking the time out of your day to read my hobby nightmare the other day. As I was watching your video, you mentioned I namely bought named character models, but no one else. I just wanted to let you know that the reason why I had so many named Imperial models, a Gazgul and nothing else. Okay, cool, okay, fine. I have an idea for a one-page rules kill team style game called Faction Adventure. Alright. Are you sneaking in a game pitch to me? Through a hobby nightmare? Ooh, ingenious. I'll let you get away with it. I'll read the rest. I'm still working on the title. If you can think of a better one, let me know. No. 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 If you want me to write for you, you've got to pay me. Sorry. It is what it is, man. If you do your job, that's my job. I write for a living. I teach and I write. That's what I do. And yeah, I'm not doing it for free. The game involves each player using 13th named character models only. Okay. 13th named. I don't know what that means. And no vehicles. How you play is, you pick a faction as a whole, i.e. Imperium, Chaos, Orcs, Tau, Tyranids, Necrons, so on and so forth. However, you only use named characters and nobody else. But your 13th model has to be one model from a different faction. You play just like Kill Team, or if you want, you can do a D&D type role-playing campaign. The idea came to me after watching the movie The 13th Warrior. If you haven't seen it, try it out, you might like it. No, it is good. It is good. It's a weird one with Antonio Banderas playing the lead, but it's good. Also, when you mentioned Link being in a wheelchair but getting up and running away, tricking me, that once again makes me smile. Not to mention I laughed my ass off for 10 minutes after hearing that. Anyway, have a cup of tea, a ham and cheese cob, and have some fun. As I said before, if you ever do decide to come to Houston, come around late February or March, seeing as that is when the biggest rodeo on the planet is happening. The Houston Livestock Show Rodeo. The rodeo has live concerts, great food, and a carnival. Also, you can see all the different kinds of livestock animals and vendors here. Also, I attached a few photos of the Angron model Link painted. Hope you can see them. All the best, Grey Knight Texan. Cheers, boys. Well, that's a very sneaky way of linking in your pitch to me on a thing. But anyway, let's see Angron, shall we? Because I've been looking for a good Angron for a while, so hopefully this is one. Let's have a look-see. Oh, that does look good. Actually, that does look good. Let me just... This is what happens when I'm on my laptop and not on my PC. I've got to do this. Shorten it down. And then pull it up again. Oh, that bloody hell. That's GW standards. Apart from it not being inked anywhere, and there's no detail on the metal. But apart from that, that sword's brilliant. That sword's fantastic. Absolutely. It's not finished, you know. It needs some inks, it needs some washes, it needs some dry brushing, but it looks fantastic as what it is. That looks brilliant. Absolutely. Well done to him. Anyway, Red says, "Greetings, Mr. Exile. It's Red again. This nightmare is about how I lost a 40k tournament, not due to anything but bad luck and the dice gods. This takes place almost a year after my last nightmare, my mum throwing away my Warhammer Fantasy army. I made a friend at my new local game store, and he wanted someone to split a couple of Dark Vengeance starter box sets with so we could get Chaos Cultists and Hell Brutes. I wanted to start a Space Marine army anyway, so I went in with him on the purchase. That being said, I became a Dark Angels player. You didn't have a fucking choice, dude, if you got Dark Vengeance. That's why I didn't like the kit. That kit was awful. If you're a Dark Angels player, brilliant. But like everything else, or a Chaos player, everything else, bollocks. Nonsense. I had bought more Ravenwing bikes, Deathwing Terminators, Tactical Squads, and a Devastator Squad to make it up to 2,000 points. I'm not really a min-max hardcore tournament player. I build thematic armies, mostly based off of the lore. So you better believe every chance at a plasma gun/cannon, I made sure it was there. I played several casual games with my fluffy list to get used to their rules. Now, we get to the tournament. Let me state, I am not a tournament player. I'm not a true narrative player either. I just like thematic armies. I think you're like most 40k players are you, mate, to be honest with you, Red. They're not one or the other. They're not narrative players like me, and they're not tournament players. They're somewhere in the middle. They're like armies with themes, you know? In other words, they're Horus Heresy players. I'm kidding. I was told about the store tournament that was coming up, and since I loved playing games of 40k, I decided to sign up. The day of the tournament, I submitted my list, and my first pairing was a guard player that brought an armoured company. This was 7th edition. Plasma cannons were my strongest weapons, and couldn't even glancing wound his Lemon Russes. Those battle tanks cleared me off the table. A little disappointing, but still glad to have played. I waited for round 2 pairings, and was paired against Orcs. The Orcs were a green tide style list, so I felt good about this matchup. This is when I was defeated by my own army. Every time I shot my Devastator squad, the plasma cannons thought my Terminators were a better target than the Orcs. I would roll my scatter dice and always landed on my Terminator squads and ended up killing all of them. My sergeants equipped with plasma pistols would lose their lives to their own guns rolling 1s on the Gets Hot table. Rest of my Dark Angels got swarmed by the Green Tide, and another loss was mine. The last round of the tournament against Tau, and once again, call it betrayal of my fucking dice, or just bad luck of the dice gods. I killed more of my own army with my plasma than my opponent even managed. Tournament of Nightmares ended. The tournament organiser announced 3rd and 2nd place winners, and they had a special announcement. They gave me a shout out and a small prize for having the most friendly fire kills out of anybody in the tournament. It was a little embarrassing, but I was a good sport and graciously accepted my prize. I found out afterwards the Orc and Tau player felt bad for my dice being my toughest opponent and told the tournament organiser about it. Oh, that's nice. That's cool. Sorry if this was hard to read on my grammar mistakes, and thank you for your channel and all the help you give others. Attached are some of my photos of my Magnus, the start of my Thousand Suns army I recently started. Cheers. Okay, let's have a little look, shall we? Before I go anywhere else. Let me go onto here, let me go onto here, let me go onto here. I'm really glad that the guys who were at the tournament actually, you know, not stood up for you, but, you know, they literally, they knew that the dice had gone in their favour. I mean, there's nothing worse in 40k than playing a game And I'm just the dice gods going, no, not today. Not today, my friend. That is a nice looking Magnus. Not today, my friend. Not today. Absolutely not. You're not playing today, you're not winning today, you're not having fun today. And you know what's even worse? You can come into a game of 40k with the absolute utmost attitude of, I'm going to have fun, my opponent's going to have fun, and we're all going to have fun. Do you know what I mean? And the game just grinds you down, and grinds you down, and grinds you down to the point where you're like, you know what? I'm a salty ass motherfucker right now, and that is because the game has driven me to this pass. That is an amazing looking Magnus, but the game has driven me to this pass. I can't do this anymore. I used to be that way playing Rocket League. Literally. I played Rocket League, and I'd go into it having a really good day. Like, I am having a really good day, and I'd go into it determined to have a good time, and the game would just batter me and batter me and batter me and batter me with bad luck after bad luck after bad luck after bad luck until finally you snap and you go, I've fucking had enough. Get me out of this game. I've had enough, right? Same thing goes for Warhammer. I'm just really sorry that has ever happened to you, and it has. If you're watching this video, it has happened to you because this is Hobby Nightmares, right? I'm really sorry it's happened to you. And I hope that you were able to have a good time with your hobby once things were calmed down and you were able to come back to it. But we all have those days. We do all have those days. Anyway, I love you a long time. I will speak to you soon for some more Hobby Nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Have a good one. Bye now.